From my side, it's being with my number one mentor on stage, but most of that is using my communication skills to take the best out of him, right? I want to condense his career. I want to condense everything that matters that he knows in modern dentistry and summarize it and package it with short conclusions to deliver to people consensus and common sense, practical answers. In 3, 2, 1, and we are back with Coffee Break with Coachman, with my dear friend Kirk Barrett. And today we're going to talk about John Coe and this amazing event coming soon with me. What is this course about? But more importantly, why we are doing this course and why I believe this is going to be a unique opportunity for dentists to learn about how effective digital dentistry can be. I hope you enjoyed summer, and let's get ready to the second half of the year. It's going to be amazing.
Yeah. And so I'm constantly amazed, speaking of amazing, of what you are up to. You're constantly reinventing yourself, adding new courses, adding new things that you're thinking about in dentistry. And I want you to talk about the event that's coming up at the end of the year. And then we're going to dissect some of the components and the why and the story behind it. So, can you start there?
So, we are specifically talking about this, for me, historical moment where I'm going to share the stage with my number one mentor, John Coe. Of course, I don't need to introduce John Coe. I don't need to explain why this is so special. But the idea is that we will give a course together, 2-day course. Uh, More than a course is a debate. It's a summary of our experiences with digital dentistry in a world where digital dentistry is not anymore the new thing. Everybody's kind of doing some level of digital dentistry. Now it's much more about becoming an advanced digital dentist. What does that mean? And for me, advanced digital dentist is not the one having all the gadgets, is not the one doing everything that is available, because it's just impossible. It's not efficient. Advanced digital dentist is the one that understands in the digital environment what is worth investing in, what is effective, what is not, what is mature, what is not, what is a priority, what is not, what is the impact of digital solutions in each one of the major steps of the process of rehabilitating a smile, treating a patient. So we're going to look at the process of transforming the patient's life with great dentistry. We're going to take this journey and we're going to break it down into the key moments. And we're going to go into each moment, but in a very practical, fast way. We're not going to deep dive into boring, complex topics. We're going to go fast because there's so many moments to cover. And think about this, what people really want to know. They want to know, okay, this is the procedure, this is the moment of the treatment, what is available, what is the comparison between the different options, brands, systems, what are the pros and cons, why these are pros, why these are cons, what is mature about this, what is not mature, what looks cool but is not effective yet. Because at the end of the course, the goal is to create a very simple priority list of what is my next investment and where should I go as a digital dentist? What should be my priority? Where do I put my energy? It's just impossible to have everything and to do everything. We need to be smart. So it's basically a digital encyclopedia, where we're gonna not actually the problem of an encyclopedia is that you have everything. So it's not an encyclopedia; it's a filtered encyclopedia, meaning we're gonna take everything and just dilute, filter into what matters, and get into final conclusions. And it's going to be a big consensus because it's not only going to be me and John, but we're going to bring some experts, not to lecture, but to be our supporting actors, let's say, on giving us the information. People that are using everything and studying everything and researching about everything. Sometimes these people they know so much that if you go 1 hour lecture with them, you get crazy. You're like, oh my God, this is not for me, too deep. My role will be to play this moderator, instigator, and as I like to say, thought organizer. I'm going to say, okay, too much, too much. Don't go there. That's enough. My question is this working well or not? Give me a straight answer. Why? And why this is better than that? Oh, it's not better than that. Okay, so why not? Why this other one is, oh, you're not sure. Okay, so let's make sure for everybody here. He is not sure about which one is the best. Okay, that's the consensus. Everybody agrees? They're pretty much the same. Okay, next step.
Yeah.
And we want to cover everything that matters
I
like
love it.
that.
I'm going to ask you about each one of those components, the format, and some of the topics we're going to cover. But I want our listeners to know the story. So let's go back in time. How did your paths, intersect and come
Mhm.
together? Can you tell that story?
So, yeah, there's a reason why, we are able to put this course together. First of all, the main reason is how humble, how amazing and humble John Coe is, right? At this stage, he doesn't have to prove anything. He doesn't need this. Um, and he's still excited about it. You know, uh, I had this idea of putting the course with him um, because of the course that I did with Mike Appa. So 1 year ago, I was like, okay, I have my courses, they're running well, but I I know I can give good courses. I like to say great courses. But I know as well that I have very good skills to take the best out of somebody else. Interviewing, moderating, questioning, challenging, and helping the other person sometimes organize their thoughts even better than themselves. And that happened a lot. And that's why I helped so many speakers put their lectures together. And that was a profession for me, a job that I had, right? Still today, I have this, I work with speakers, helping them. And I remember around 10 years ago in a Seattle Study Club, where the first time that I presented DSD at Seattle Study Club, and of course, Michael Coyne, amazing, another mentor that opened so many doors to me. And he was like, you know what? I want to give you the stage and I want you to tell the DSD story, right? And I remember at that time, I was already doing some work with John Coyce, and I said, John, I want to do a case with you, and I want you to do your first complete digital case with me with DSD, so I can present this case. And John was okay, let's do it. So we did the full DSD workup on one of his patients, and we gave the lecture together, but he was online. So he was on a video conference on stage, and I was live on stage, and it was epic. And we presented this case with Coy's philosophy empowered by digital. And I remember explaining everything that I learned from Coy's with my own words with the digital workflow. And after the course, I was, everybody loved it and everything. And then Coyce sent me a message, and he said, probably the best compliment I ever had in my whole life. He said, Christian, I never saw my ideas and my case being explained better than myself. You explained it better than I sometimes explain it. That's what he told me. So that's when I actually woke up for the fact that it's not about creating new ideas many times. It's about communicating better ideas that are already there. And I always loved to learn from people and say, okay, what is your message? What is your skill? What is your technique? What is your thing? Let me think. How do you explain it? Like this. Okay, do you allow me to try to rephrase it or explain it a different way? And this was always an exercise for me. Even when I was watching lectures, I was always like, if he would had say this way, would be even better,
Yeah.
right? So uh, I'm saying this because 1 year ago I said I want to bring the people that I most admire in dentistry on stage with me, and I want to somehow play this moderator and help them to send their message in an even better way. And that's what I tried to do with the course with Coise beginning of this year, right? And it was a huge success, fully sold out. People really enjoyed it, and it was this me. Of course, I was sharing my thoughts as well, but I was mainly challenging him, asking questions, and helping him express his thinking process. There was also debate. We were debating. We were disagreeing on stage in a very honest, open way with no rehearsal,
And this is Michael
right?
Appa. You mentioned
This was
Kois.
with Michael Appa,
Yeah.
and for it was epic as well. And people were like, "When is the next one? When is the next one?" Blah blah blah. So it was so successful that I said, "Okay, who's the next that I want to invite?" And I said, "Look, Mike Appa is amazing, and he's so well known, and I need to bring another. Then it needs to be somebody that is so huge. Who is this person?" And of course, it took me 10 minutes to say it has to be John Coyes. To keep the same kind of a level of excitement, and people say, "What the hell?" Now it's Christian and John Coyes. So I said, John. Say, there's one problem. John needs to accept that invitation.
Mhm.
So I call him like 6 months ago and say, John, I have a crazy idea, and if it doesn't make sense, it's all good, and don't get mad at me if you don't like the idea. And I explained to him exactly that the whole format with Appa and how the whole thing was so casual and so honest and transparent, and how people love the back and forth and the debate and how do you say in English, the bantering.
Bantering back and forth.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
The and it and then John was silent for 2 seconds, and I was like, "Holy shit, went wrong,"
Mhm.
right? And he was like, "I'm in.
Yeah.
Sounds great. Let's do it."
Yeah.
And of course, John is very structured, and he said, "I just need to understand a little bit better the structure.
Yeah.
I cannot do that improvised, but let's do it."
Let's do it now. Um, for the listeners, for the benefit of the listeners, we have a lot of young listeners now and a lot of dental students listening. And there are people that listen to the podcast that may or may not know who Dr. John Coyce is or haven't been to the Coyce Center. So if I'm listening and I don't know who, this is a big question, Christian. How would you describe John Coyce? Who is he?
So that's a great question, and I will put some energy here because he deserves an amazing answer. John Course deserves my best possible answer here. Okay, so who is John? How do I define John Coyce? Uh, John Coyce, to start, John Coyce is the biggest dental speaker alive in dentistry. Period. That's the first line. He's the biggest name on the lecturing circuit for sure in the world that is still around us. First. Second, John Coyce is part of a group of professionals that in the early 90s, in my humble opinion, invented modern interdisciplinary dentistry. There's a couple names there that together kind of invented the principles that we are still using today to diagnose and treatment plan interdisciplinarily, restorative cases, integrating ortho, perio, implants, everything, from a facially driven perspective. Second line, right? Third line, John Coe has for me the most complete, best quality, comprehensive course in dentistry in the world. Not in US, in the world. If you want to learn dentistry after dental school, the best, by far, place to go is the Coe Center. Line number 3. He's still the one giving 100% of all the hours of all his courses himself. I would say 90% because now he has some people in the digital environment giving some, the same way that I gave some courses in his center in the past, but it's him still 95% of the time. One more line. John Coe is one of the most ethical educators I know in terms of not allowing, not even for a second, commercial interest affect his teaching, his conclusions, and his message. I think that's my definition of John Coe.
Very well chosen words. I love it. Love it.
Um, so that's the reason why that after doing this course with Mike Appa, that is probably the most famous name in aesthetic dentistry worldwide, I said, if I want to keep the same level of relevance, for me, John Coe is the natural move, and I'm so honored with the fact that he accepted, and we are working on putting the program together. And of course, there's a lot of question marks. People are asking, but why should I attend this course? And we can discuss on why this is going to be very, very unique program with
Yeah.
very clear take-home message. It's not about only meeting John or talking to me, whatever, but taking home critical information.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you exactly about this. This is the first of its kind, combining not only your expertise, but you mentioned highly practical, scientifically grounded. What
Yeah.
does that mean? Share with us what that means.
So I when it comes to digital, people know me as one of the top digital guys, right? One of the digital pioneers, one of the first ones to really push and explain people how to use digital, founder of Digital Smile Design, etc. Uh, but I know exactly who I am, but I know exactly who I'm not. I know exactly what I know, and I know exactly what I don't know, or at least I'm always trying to research what I don't know, be very honest about it, right? And I think that, of course, John sees in me great things that I don't even see in myself since the beginning. And of course, that I see things on him that I know I don't have at all, So it's very complimentary. And John mentioned that to me in the past. He, when I invited him to do this course, he told me, "Look, I'm going to do this. We need to do this together. You are one of the few guys that I have fun, listening to, that I'm learning from, and that I'm excited about doing things and developing projects together." And again, this is just amazing to listen this from him. But from my side, it's being with my number one mentor on stage, but most of that is using my communication skills to take the best out of him, right? I want to condense his career. I want to condense everything that matters that he knows in modern dentistry and summarize it and package it with short conclusions to deliver to people consensus and common sense, practical answers. So the goal is not that we're going to give lectures, right? People say, oh, but why should I go to this course, Christian? I went to your courses. I went to Coe's courses. Why should I go to this course? Because it's not going to be one lecture after the other. It's not going to be him lecturing one day, me lecturing one day. It's going to be us dividing this timeline into moments and creating this consensus around each moment. It's going to be like a chat. Imagine if you are in a coffee shop, you, me, and John Coy's, and we have the connection with some of the smartest people in dentistry to answer any question. It's like a dental Google in our hands. And you can ask any question that you want. And I'm going to give my view. Coy's is going to give his view. I'm going to question his view. He's going to question my view. I'm going to challenge him. He's going to challenge me. I'm going to agree or disagree. He's going to agree or disagree. We're going to go to the expert, say, what do you think? We will not allow people to go too deep into anything, and we're going to push people into straight to the point conclusions.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're going to look to each other, me, John, and we're going to say, okay, let's conclude this topic. What is your final thought? Right. And then let's move to the next one.
Yeah. I want you to go back to the word, you used the word moments, and look at the full mouth rehabilitation or this entire thing. There are key moments. Describe what those moments are and how you're going to use those in this course format.
So, if you think about the process of treating the patient, you have initial data acquisition. You have organizing, accessing, and sharing this information moment. You have diagnostic moment based on the information. You have then interdisciplinary communication, team communication, connecting the specialists, sharing information with them, the process of structuring your questions to get the best answers out of people on your team. You have then the treatment planning moment, gathering all this feedback, your perspective from the case, all the documentation, plus the specialist feedback, making decision making moment. Then you have the moment of presenting this to the patient, explaining, onboarding, convincing, motivating, visual education, ethical education of the patient, many strategies and tools to be used there. Then you have the moment where case acceptance happens and you need to then move from a comprehensive planning into detail specialized planning of each one of the procedures. So disciplinary planning, not interdisciplinary, but disciplinary. So we're talking about the impact of technologies in ortho planning, perio planning, implant planning, surgery planning, restorative planning. You have the process of using technology to plan the procedure. You have technology to help you design and manufacture all the devices involved with it. And you have the technology to help you perform these procedures. And then a bunch of steps into ortho, perio, implants, restorative, right? Then restorative itself, it's a chapter for itself. It's because it's the biggest topic of all, so the digital restorative workflow, from capturing the data, mounting the digital models, the digital patient, the diagnostic design, the restorative design, the restoration design, printing and milling, manufacturing, finishing, materials, different types of materials for digital restorations, delivering bite adjustment. This is a big topic where John emphasized the importance of really talking about how digital is important, is impacting bite function. Is digital making our life easier on this topic? Yes or no? How? And then the final moment is maintenance, prevention, maintenance, forecasting issues, anticipating issues, and trying to make everything we do last longer,
Yeah.
longevity.
Yeah. I love how you've organized this, and it's a 2-day course again. So you have the patient focus, which is the pre-case acceptance, and then the
Yeah,
clinical focus, which is the post-case acceptance. Are you
exactly.
hoping to stay day one on the first bucket and day two on the second, or not so much?
Hopefully, I don't tell John, but I'm telling John that everything is very structured. But I know in reality that things with me end up, you know, open for improvisation and further discussions here and there, and then spending more time in over here, less time over there. But I think that the amount of topics and the importance of both moments will be kind of divided like this: one day for one day for the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I didn't even ask you this, but will you be gathering questions from the attendees at all too, or will you be
So
the?
we will have an app for questions where people will be able to type their questions
Mhm.
at any moment, and we're gonna have a person, an expert, a dentist, specialist on all these topics there just for that, collecting the questions and live stopping us and asking us these questions, right? On the right moments. And if the question is fits perfectly right in the middle of discussion, the question will be made right there. If we wait until the break, we do it at the end or at the beginning of the next break. But we will give the opportunity for people to ask the questions and make it dynamic.
Yeah. All of us have our coicisms, our favorites. I have a whole long list of them, and I've heard John say this one. I want to know what your thoughts are. He
Uh,
said a mantra that they have at the Koi Center is it's okay to disagree, but it is not okay to be disagreeable. You, as the thought organizer for this, you're going to be mining for some conflicts. You're hoping to get a little bit of conflict, don't you think? Just to,
yes.
yeah, tell
Yeah,
me
yeah,
about
yeah.
that.
No, I love people love that. Um, I love to see two smart people disagreeing.
Yeah,
I love that to just sit and watch, honest, ethical people that disagree, smart, defending their point. And if I'm the moderator and I'm seeing that one side is losing, I kind of go to the side of the loser and I start to pick on the one that is winning the discussion, making helping the loser make tougher questions to kind of even the game a little bit, because of course at the end you want to get to a conclusion. Sometimes it's a consensus, sometimes it's in between, but many times is like saying, okay, at this point we all agree that you were more right than you, or you are completely right, and I don't think your point was that valid. So, and people need to be okay with that. Yeah, I'm totally okay with that, with people telling me, the consensus is that your idea is not the winner, Christian. And I'm
yeah,
okay, fine.
yeah. I want you to talk about, you use the phrase leveraging the digital tools in each
Yeah.
step of the rehabilitation. Can you talk about what does that mean?
It means that we have too much, and many times we see speakers lecturing about digital, and they are not actually using what they're showing in their lecture daily. Many times, digital solutions, they look very cool in lecture, so everybody wants to show, but it doesn't mean they use daily for every case. So I want to know the truth, right? And leveraging technology means using the technology, smart technology, the technology that makes you more effective. The only reason to use technology is to be more effective. The effectiveness is the key word. How effective is this? Oh no, but it's super cool and you can see this and you can see that, but how effective it is to see this and see that. No, but if you see this and I say, how effective is this at the end of the day? How I'm going to be more effective, because the ultimate goal is not to use technology. The ultimate goal is to solve the problem of the patient, is to deliver the solution with technology or without. The ultimate goal is to treat the patient in the best way possible, uh, or to identify that you don't need to treat the patient. So the benefit for the patient is the ultimate goal. We need to work with less stress to achieve that. We need to be faster without losing quality. So we want to be more efficient. We want to be more consistent, less variables, less surprises, right? We want to be more predictable with the outcomes. We want to get outcomes that are more similar to the plans, to more similar to what we envisioned at the beginning, what we simulated, the initial designs. Well, we want all of that, but at the end of the day, we need to be effective. And many digital tools are not effective, either because the companies, they are putting the tool in the market before the tool is mature enough, and we know that happens all the time. Companies are launching solutions and launching technologies because they have a deadline. They're pushed by the market. Shareholders are pushing. Profit revenue is pushing. They already invested too much in research and development. Beta testing was supposed to happen and finish last month. We got to go to the market. Let's just put an amazing marketing story behind it. People will buy the story. People will buy the technology. People will struggle. And we blame the people.
Yeah.
And people learn. And we're going to have a sponsored beta testing phase, right? And we're going to learn and we're going to improve. And that's life, right?
Yeah.
So many technologies are not ready, but sometimes because they are not mature enough, sometimes because the dentist is not using properly, sometimes because the staff is unconsciously sabotaging the technology or not using properly. Sometimes because companies don't know how to teach their own technology properly. That's very common. They teach you to a certain level, sometimes even because of legal issues. They cannot tell you the whole story. They cannot show you all the tricks because some of the tricks were not approved or FDA, whatever. So they cannot tell you the tricks. So you need to find out by yourself. And the company's like, if you do that, don't tell us. And
Yeah.
sometimes the reps are even saying, look, this is the trick, but don't tell anybody that I told you,
Yeah.
right? If somebody asks me, I'm going to say, no, I never said that. Sometimes, we don't know from the options which one is the most effective. So effectiveness is the word at the end of the day, and we want to be effective, even when we have to say, I'm going to do this step without digital
Right.
because I'm more effective without it at this moment.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. You and I hit before we hit the go button, we've been around a long time and we know how fast time goes. Sometimes people will listen to these and they go, well, I'll just catch Coyce and Coachman on the next one. We were joking, like, if you really want to see the Rolling Stones in one of their final tours, this is it. Can you just speak to this? Like, John doesn't have anything to prove. He's already done it. This is your
Yeah.
one opportunity. And he doesn't speak outside, right? He doesn't really do outside lectures that much, I don't think.
So, yeah, I started to think about this a few years ago. You say, who are the big names of dentistry lecturing, right? And basically, when you're from US, you grew up on the 90s, 2000, 2010s. And you could have all these guys, they were all lecturing, for me, the big names, besides John Coe, you have Frank Spear, you have Peter Dawson, I'm talking about more on the restorative side, right? You have Vince Kokic, and you have Gerhard Schisch, Pascal Magnier, um, Carl Misch, um, and others, right? The big, big names, those names that Dennis Tarnow, David Garber, Ronald Goldstein, Gordon Christensen. Most of these names, some of these names, they died already, and they're not among us anymore already. Many of the names I mentioned, they are not lecturing anymore. Frank Spear, for example, it's almost not lecturing anymore. You go to the Spear Center, you don't see Spear giving the lectures 90% of the time. Uh, and I started to think about, and because John Coe is always there, so consistent, so strong, right? He looks like a rock. He's like just there, emotionally even. That you create this false impression that he's going to be there forever. There's very few people in dentistry that can teach like him, and he will not be there forever. And just recently, he announced that he's going to take a break in 2026. That next year's annual Coe Symposium will not be the last. He didn't say it was going to be the last, but he's gonna give a break to himself after that. And some people are wondering, is he gonna come back and give more of these? Right? We don't know. That's why, and I'm only saying this because if you haven't taken his courses, the full course program, and to take the whole program, I don't know, it takes a few years to complete all the modules. I don't know for how long you're going to be able to start and finish getting all the modules from John Coy's. If I was a clinician at this point and I haven't done his course, I would register tomorrow, right? And when it comes to and he already announced that the symposium last year is going to be the last one before this break. We don't know if he's going to come back. And that gives even more power to this event, this combined course, because I think this is going to be so intense. I really believe it's going to be amazing, unique, because it's going to be him from a different perspective and a complete different topic. But I believe it's one of the last events that he does like that, because it's going to be so intense that there is a chance that afterwards, when we finish on Saturday afternoon, he's going to be turning to me and say, Christian, this was amazing, but I don't think I can do this again.
Yeah.
Right. So for that reason, I believe people should come.
I want to just ask you about this, Christian. If I'm a young dentist listening, the digital landscape is confusing. It's expensive. There's a
Mhm.
lot of moving pieces. It feels like it's changing more in the last year than it has in the last 5.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
Tell me how you guys are going to help me think better about this in Miami.
The goal is to simplify the digital environment, right? To simplify means it's actually people maybe be surprised about what I'm gonna say, but it's almost like telling people how to do without digital. Everything that you can do without digital, and still say, I'm doing great. That means that you will come out with a priority list, and the moments to invest on these technologies. Um, if you can come out with the plan for the next 3 to 5 years, let's say 3 years, what do you want to buy on this first year? What do you want to buy on the second year? What do you want to buy on the third year? What is really going to make a difference? and how you're going to get your return on these investments, right? Uh, Again, if you buy something that is effective, you're going to get the return. So focus on effectiveness and then become a master on translating that technology into your daily routine and become so good at using that solution that you cannot live without it, and your business is better because of that.
Yeah. Love it. Love it. Love it. So this event will be one of a kind. What's the one hope you have for people, the attendees, or the one message, or the one thing? Like if I fly to Miami, what do you hope's the one thing I take away from this great 2-day event?
Um, Come knowing that you're gonna see, if you know if you never saw John Coe speaking, you're gonna see one of the biggest icons of modern dentistry performing. Um, Hopefully, you're gonna see, if you already saw Coe speaking several times, you're gonna see him from a different perspective because it's gonna be almost like a live interview, right? I already told him, don't think you're gonna just give your 1 hour lecture, 2 hour lecture, and then another one. Just I'm gonna be stopping you every 5 minutes because I'm gonna ask the questions that I think are necessary to organize the thoughts so we can get into conclusions and prioritization based on everything that you're saying. So I really want people to understand that I want to make this an experience where you're going to see John Coyce from a different perspective. And hopefully he's going to answer questions in a different way because, as I said, for many years I've been practicing the art of asking the right questions. It was always an obsession for me. How can you become the best asking the right questions at the right moment? Even sometimes cornering people, right? Like questioning people in the right way, doubting even, or and playing the devil's advocate. Say, I do agree with you, but I'm going to pretend I don't because I want you to convince me a little bit more about the why. And even though it sounds obvious, why not? Why not? If I don't do what you're saying, what happens? Because sometimes people explain something such a good way that you're like, I have to do this. But we don't ask the question, what if I don't do this? What actually happens? What are the downsides? And many times, because the speaker is so good, we have the tendency to think that we have to do it like this. And we don't explore the downsides and we don't explore the other way. Say, but if I do the opposite way, what is the downside? And now please compare the downsides of both ways. And I do this exercise with myself when I'm speaking, lecturing myself. I do this exercise with others. And I had moments where smart people change their mind in real time in front of me on their own idea by asking the right questions and driving people to a specific path of challenging their own beliefs and comparing the other ways with their own way and going one step further on this exploration until the point that the person gets to the conclusion of, you know what, this other way is actually as good as mine. You
Mm-hmm.
can do it both ways. There's no clear advantage. It's okay. That's fantastic. So you prefer like this just because you're used to it. It's not necessarily better than the other way. And it's beautiful when you can make people go through this exploration and get to conclusions like that. I love getting to the conclusions like this, where people listening can really understand the thinking process behind it. Because then people can make their own decisions and conclusions, right?
Right.
It's not like, oh, these super famous guys, they told us to do this. Let's challenge ourselves.
100%. So well said, my friend. So if I'm listening to the podcast, where do I go to register? We're going to put links down there, but if I'm listening, tell me where to go.
So the course, John Coe and Christian Coachman, optimizing clinical outcomes by becoming an advanced digital dentist. This course will happen in Miami in March next year. And you can find all the information on digitalsmiledesign.com or coicenter.com as well. On both websites, you have the course link there. Or you can just click on the link directly on the course page that we're going to have on the description of this episode and go straight to the course page. Kirk, you're invited to come. You're my
Yes.
guest. This is going to be a special one, and we're going to have fun. We're going to have some fun also, as we always do in our courses. So,
Well, everybody that comes back from a DSD course says the same thing. Number one, it was an incredible learning experience, but the one thing they always comment on is you guys have more fun than anybody, and need a break, need a little vacation after the course. So I'm excited, brother. So
fantastic. No,
good
thanks
stuff.
for listening and sharing this new project with everybody.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. And I know that anybody that attends, you're going to absolutely love it. So again, make sure you check it out and register. It's a once in a lifetime event. I promise you, you will love it.